3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Today we've got a special guest again today.
For sure.
Very special guest. I like him when I don't know him, babe. What do you think? We don't know this guy.
We don't really
Just know him through Instagram,
yeah,
but
through Instagram.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. But
First time.
I'd like to welcome aboard Alex. His name is Alex. He goes by Alex anyway.
Yep.
Welcome aboard, bro.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Nice to have you on board. How's things? How's life been treating you?
Good. I guess with all the stuff that's going on at the moment, it's been a bit like weird.
How you going?
Adjusting and stuff. But overall, pretty sweet.
Yeah?
That's good.
So, you're a man of many talents, bro,
Yeah.
from what I can see.
Of course.
You have a very sort of a long lineage of being able to do stuff. Like you just got so much experience from what from stalking you anyway, from what from what I've been seeing, like you do a lot. So give us a little rundown, bro. What's like
What
your
do you
bio,
do?
little
Yeah.
description?
No, for sure. So at the moment, I guess you'd call it digital marketing.
Sure.
So,
Cool.
Content creation, social media management,
Mm-hmm.
paid advertising, that kind of stuff. So that's my business at the moment, and that's been about a year and a half
Oh, wow.
so far.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's been a bit tricky, like
Right.
getting to where I am now. Not that it's hard to describe, like not to say I am somewhere or like
Sure.
where I want to be, but
We're all still figuring it out. That's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, definitely.
Right. But like,
Yeah.
even go back, bro. Like high school, like what were you doing? Like we want to know
Who are
the
you?
like who was you?
Yeah, sure.
You know, before today,
Like
you.
if we went to school together.
If we went to
you
school
know,
together
like
and I'm in
who's-
class,
who are you?
Are you the goofy guy? You feel me? Like,
Oh, that's interesting that you say that, because I was just I've been like reflecting a lot recently. And
here we
going
go.
back to
I
that-
love when people reflect.
going back to that
Here we
kind
go.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So high school, it was an experience. I'd say the person I was toward the back end, like 11 and 12, was completely different to who I was entering into high school.
Right.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I think like everyone. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
sure.
course, yeah. But for me, it was sort of more like just from what I'd gone through growing up and a lot of different things and hardship and stuff, entering into high school, just like huge social anxiety,
Really?
which took until like year 10, 11 to find my feet.
Right.
Okay.
So, looking back, it's just like complete different person from the start to the middle to now. So,
That's so crazy that you say that, bro.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
like-
have thought. Like, a lot of people that I meet, they're like, yeah, social anxiety, mad social anxiety. I'm like, why? What? Like, I would have
didn't expect
never.
it.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
expect it, bro. Especially, from the people that I meet. Even you, like, I wouldn't have never thought.
Oh, really?
So in high school, you were sort of like, you were that guy, like a bit like,
Yeah.
don't know how to talk to people. Or?
yeah, like there was a lot of moving around
Sure.
for me. There was nothing for most of my life. It was nothing ever consistent.
Okay, sure.
So like trying to adapt to those environments, constantly changing and stuff. I think the issue was like not knowing who I was and where I fit in.
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's where that anxiety stemmed from. And I guess that guy that would just like keep to himself all the time,
Sure.
couldn't really talk to people. And to where I am now, I guess like from the outside you'd think, oh really? Like
Yeah.
how would you have come from that? But I think those people that go through that kind of thing
Yep.
are the people you might not necessarily suspect would have gone through it, because
100%.
for me it's been like being able to like wear those different masks at times,
Yep.
just to adapt to the situation, to sort of, because you don't want people to know that.
Yeah.
I
Of
feel
course,
like,
especially at such an age, like you don't want people to know stuff that obviously you don't want to share because you yourself don't know how to deal with it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it sort of brings that up. So once you started getting comfortable, like in your own skin, like you said, you're 10, 11, 12, like that's
Yeah.
when you're kind of comfortable.
Yeah,
like
for
what
sure.
happened? Like why? Was it just self-actualization? Realize like what was it? Like how did that come about?
It was weird because like when I went to because at that point I think around year 9 is when I so long story short, I
Sure.
was living with my mum,
Sure.
moved over to living with my dad just over at like Quakers Hill, so
Cool.
I went to St Andrews, just around the corner. And when I got there, it probably took me a few months to like sort of find my feet, but I just met like 2 guys which ended up being like my high school best friends,
Yep.
which really helped me like become who I was.
Yep.
And another really significant milestone was because both of my brothers are professional musicians for a living.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
there
So
you
that
go.
was always sort of a part of my life, and
Sure.
I was always like sort of involved in it.
Cool.
And then with my music teacher in music class, like really started pushing me to do stuff. And when I started performing, that's when I sort of broke out. And
Oh,
people were
wow.
like, oh, who's this guy? And it was like, normally I was just like the dude over there that wouldn't
Yeah.
like talk to anyone, keep to myself.
Yeah.
I think that changed heaps for me because, yeah, like I said, coming from such like a anxious place inside
Yep.
myself to being able to go to that was like, that was another
It's
challenge.
a
in
change,
itself,
and that's another thing that you bring up. I wouldn't have thought you about music, bro.
Yeah, like,
feel what I mean?
So what were you doing? Like music? So like what?
So my main thing was like singing, playing guitar.
Okay.
But my brother sort of did everything, so I had that environment around me constantly because they do it for a living. So like one
Right.
of my brothers owns a music school in Parramatta,
Nice.
and they both perform together like on the weekends and stuff, like gigs and clubs and pubs and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. So yeah, that was always around me. So it wasn't really easy to fall. It wasn't hard, sorry, to fall into, but at the same time,
It was just like natural. It all
Yeah,
came
yeah.
about very organically.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally
100%.
understand. So, I guess in high school, you kept obviously your close mates. You graduated. You're trying to find your way. So, from that point to where you are now, like what was sort of that path, bro? Because I think we're all trying to figure shit out. We took a bit of a left turn, went into the clubbing phase. We all fucking went through that phase, bro, I'm sure.
For sure.
So like what happened there? Like what, you know what I mean? Like we all kind of went somewhere after
Yeah.
high school. What was it for you?
For me, it was like finishing up high school. That was when I was very much involved in like training, health and fitness and stuff.
Yep.
So right after high school, I didn't like most people that I was in high school with had plans to go to like uni and study and all that kind of stuff. And I knew that wasn't for me because I couldn't quite figure out exactly what I wanted to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
But even with like music and training, I didn't want to like, might sound weird because I was only like 18, but I
Right.
sort of didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just studying that because I knew what I wanted to do was so broad. But yeah, fast forward to that time after high school, I did my PT course, started personal training for about 2.5, 3 years.
Oh, nice.
And like reflecting back on that anxiety thing I was talking about,
Right.
that was my huge next step because from high school I was just working like your normal part-time jobs 3
Right.
or 4 nights a week. So
Yep.
jumping into that full time, like as you would know because you're doing PT and stuff, like you're the face of your business. So like going into that, I had to like learn how to talk to clients and had to be like this whole new person. And I think so I did that for about 2.5, 3 years, and I think I was only fully prepared and ready to do it once I finished doing it. Like
Okay.
it took me that whole time to
Yeah.
figure out how to
Okay.
like be that person, which was funny because then I sort of stopped doing it and started doing other stuff. But yeah, post high school, 3 years, that was what I was doing.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
man. Like, because I think we can all agree that we say this all the time, bro. Uni wasn't for us, myself included. A lot of people that we've gotten on here.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I guess for ourselves as well. Never wanted to pigeonhole ourselves as well. The same exact sort of concept. And then obviously we're trying to figure ourselves out, right? So for you, you went into obviously PT, and then now you're in digital.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, and you've been doing it for quite a while now, right? So
Yeah.
I guess
Before we continue, why did you get into PT?
oh, here we go. Good question.
It was sort of like another thing with the music with my brothers.
Okay.
Like I always aspired to like be like them,
Okay.
and they were my biggest role models.
Right.
Over like anyone, like
Yeah.
people sort of have role models growing up that are like celebrities or whatever. I didn't care about any of that stuff. I just like admired them so much. I wanted to do whatever they were doing. And at that time as well, they were sort of getting into like taking care of their health and fitness. And
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, so my middle brother, living at home at the time, we had like a small place, and he had all his weights downstairs. So like after school, I'd come home and see him like doing
Right.
bicep curls and stuff. And he'd be
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing? Like, get out of here! Like, stop watching me. You're so weird." And I'd be like, "Oh, but I just want to do that." So like, whenever he'd like go to work, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll just copy him."
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah,
So
right.
like,
Yeah.
that's
fucking
what really
cute.
got me into it. And then like, I sort of ended up surpassing them with the training stuff and took it like full on, and ended up wanting to just pass that passion on to people who were
Okay.
interested and wanted to learn more.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Similar sort of story. Like I think with her, like they come from that sort of place where They know it's one of those things where you have to kind of do it for yourself. I never really got into it. Like I've always thought about myself, like, hey, this is something I wanted to get into, but I'm like, can I fucking do it my whole life? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But she has one of those things where, like, she needs to
What do I have? What?
Yeah, you have that, like that education, like you got that mindset around education. So I think that's what separates a lot of people from actually doing it, like full, like heart out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I guess, bro, like I know, like having stalked you for a while, and sort of just been following your journey, I guess, because I know you're good mates with one of my mates, Christian. I'm assuming he's one of your, like, the boys that you're talking about, right? Like you guys are really close.
Yeah.
Because he called you one time when I was at his house, and he was speaking Irish to you or something.
Yeah.
Is that
we
a?
always just screw around. Yeah, like,
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
Because I was there with him, and I'm like, holy fuck, this guy's exactly like me with my mates, bro.
Yeah.
Like we literally fuck around.
Yeah.
But I love that, bro, because I think that's something that you have, like. That's how you know, like, you're mad comfortable with your boys. You know what I mean? When you could be, even being gay, bro. Like, you can only be gay with, like, your closest boys, and that's, I don't know if that's the same with you, bro.
Yeah,
but
because like you don't know, like, if
Yeah.
you're stuff like, oh, taking it seriously.
yeah,
No,
and then it's like, oh no, but I'm just having fun,
Yeah.
relax. Like, this is,
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
sure.
trying to have a go or whatever. But yeah, man, one of the things that I also found very, very intriguing for you, bro, was you're heavy into, obviously, mindset, personal development. I think I could be fucking wrong, mind you, but.
Yeah, 100%. You can
Right.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
sorry, I'll let you continue.
No, that's good. I'd say like that was something I had to, like, I wasn't aware of, but had to learn about that early on with everything I'd gone through. But my eldest brother, his wife is like just full into that stuff, like,
Yeah.
and having played a massive part in raising me, she was always there with that kind of stuff. So very early on, when I'd go through difficult times like relationship breakups or trouble at work or just any kind of trouble we go through growing up, she was always there to instill those kinds of things with me and teach me about that stuff. So like it's always just become my second nature to be like just fully invested in that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And bro, that's good. Like, what would be like the top whatever? Fuck, babe, this is probably where you come in. I'm pretty bad at this stuff, but like, yeah, like what are some of those things that, you know, maybe you learned or picked up early on that you still remember, like that really resonates with you still even today? Like, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, a value, or it might be a quote, it might be a specific book, or like, you know.
Like I guess we could talk for hours about that stuff.
Sure.
But maybe something that underpins everything would just be like, just having that trust and belief in myself, because I'd always go to, you know, certain people with my problems, and that was always the underlying cause, like just being fearful that I wasn't good enough, or being too scared that I couldn't speak up because I didn't really believe in myself, and let people walk over me and stuff. But that's still something I definitely don't have it down, but like always at the back of my mind, trying to remember like who I am and like stand up for myself and be true.
I just want to pause and take a moment right now, because a lot of, I don't know if it's a guy thing, but a lot of guys won't admit that. Like that's what's crazy about what's happening right now, is because you probably don't think about it with me, but I go through the same shit. We all have those demons in our head that are just like, fuck, you know, good. We're somehow we're looking for approval, but we don't, like, you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but like maybe it's acceptance, but like I totally get it. Like you're in that whole mindset, like you don't know, but you want to be recognized. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but
it comes from so many things. Like it could come from like childhood memories to like your environment, or just how you were brought up or what you were taught.
Yeah, but I appreciate that you're sharing it like this, bro, because a lot of people, like yourself, I wouldn't have thought that, you know what I mean? Like we all externalize this like hard shell exterior or whatever it might be, and you just don't know what the fuck's going on in that person's head. Like a lot of people think, like a lot of people think us, like we're any different, like somehow, you know, we're doing well. I hear this all the time, bro. Maybe you yourself, but like, no, it's literally not the case, bro. Like, you think I'm A-OK, A1 mechanically. I'm like, no, I'm not, man. Like, it's literally one of those things where I'm just literally just doing, like, shit every day.
Yeah.
Like, I have to keep my mind off shit. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit there kind of just feeling sorry for myself. And that's what we don't want that. We don't want that for you. No one wants that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So, bro, thanks for sharing this shit, bro. Because
all good. It's just the truth.
It is,
like,
yeah. Fuck, I'm like feeling it right now. I'm feeling the fucking of this guy, bro. I love it. So, okay, mindset was really, really important for you, obviously. And you had that good circle of influence, like you're still, I'm assuming you're very close with your brother and obviously his partners,
definitely. Yeah.
So with that in mind, right, how has that affected sort of the way now, like obviously today, like I'm trying to think of it from your perspective, right? So having that sort of environment, did that help you be able to communicate a lot better? Did that help you sort of live life through values that they taught you? Like what was it necessarily? You mean like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, like it was everything. Like that's
Right.
when I think if I didn't have that, I wouldn't know where I would be, or like,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like
right.
a lot of things I went through, and with how my mindset was, and the stuff that happened growing up, like if I didn't have those values instilled, if I didn't have those few people that were there to be able to take those types of hardship I was going through and try to teach me that it was a lesson, I don't know, like I really don't know if I'd even be here, or like what the case could have been. It was definitely, it's a huge thing for me, because that support I've always felt like I've lacked. But when that kind of part of my
Shout
life
out, brother.
stepped up,
Shout out the brother, bro. The
Mhm.
big brother out there, bro, and the partner too, bro. Because like, fuck, it's good that I don't know if it's just growing up in this area. I literally don't know. But when I go to like job interviews to where I've worked in the past, where it's like, fuck, like now there's this huge pressure because I put myself in a pigeonhole. Like I'm this kid from this area, and it's like, fuck, are they gonna want me? And then I think I don't know, maybe it's because of her help or whatever. Like I was just like, fuck it, I got to put myself out there. No one's gonna have it over me, etc. And I think that's what I'm trying to share on this sort of platform as well, because the people that I have on, people are sort of shy to come on and shit like that, like everyone is, because they haven't spoken on the platform before. But just giving people a platform to talk about, the insecurities, I feel like it's very, very transparent. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things like, bro, like I'm no different to you. We're no different from each other. But like in saying that, a lot of people face the same problems and they don't know where to look and who else, how they can relate with other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, bro, your story, like, so from there to now, digital. Why did you get into digital? Like, why is that sort of the thing that that you sort of resonated with, or?
It's actually funny. So like you mentioned Christian before, so he's
Sure.
actually my business partner with the whole digital
Boom.
marketing, content creation.
Nice.
Thing. But I guess rewind a bit back to, do you remember like when I was doing the brand stuff?
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
Yes.
So when I got into that, that was just like a whole nother thing. But like we'd planned that from back in high school.
Yes.
Just like, I don't know if you guys had the same conversations with friends at school, but it was just like knowing you were destined for doing something a bit different.
Yep.
And not that like necessarily like there's such a whole stigma with this entrepreneurship 9 to 5 shit at the moment.
Right.
Like if 9 to 5 and doing like a normal job makes you happy, that's cool.
That's fine.
But
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
just for us, we always knew that we wanted to like do something different.
Yep.
So at the time that was it, like making clothes, having like a message behind it and stuff. Excuse me. And so when that whole process was going was coming about, it was like just so much going on, and it was like one of the aspects in regards to digital was like, okay, like buy a camera and like organize with models to do photo shoots and stuff. How we're going to market it and whatever. And I realized that I sort of had like this. I think I was told I did had like an eye for it. So like like the way you take photos and all this kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, sweet. So throughout the whole clothing process, like I've still got that, but like other things have taken over at the moment.
Understandable.
So I realized that part of that whole process, I was really, really enjoying doing the content creation side of things.
Oh, right.
And I was like, okay, pause for a second. Am I enjoying it because like, just because it's fun, or do I want to do this more?
Right.
Yeah.
So then that's just sort of how it's happened. Like I just bought a camera, delved into it more, and I guess that's the beginning of it all. And then like kept upgrading equipment and realizing that other brands and stuff were sort of asking for a bit of help, and I kept learning more. Like no formal study or anything, just learning off YouTube and doing things.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
I
Nothing
guess
wrong with that.
Yeah, that's where it started.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're a creator. Like, what would be like the top? Like, obviously, because I'm pretty poor at this stuff. So it's like, okay, take photos, photography.
What does it
Like,
consist of?
what is it like? What is your like day to day? Like, what does that life of a creator look like? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's a bit different just from like just photography. So
okay, sure.
With our business, it's digital marketing, like full scale digital marketing.
Sure.
So from like paid ads to content creation to copywriting to web design, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And well, actually, I may as well just say it. Like, it was funny how it came about because I was
Yeah.
doing a few photography jobs here and there for businesses,
Yeah.
just for their social media
Sure.
and stuff. And I actually one time went out for like an agency who was had a client,
Mhm.
and I was doing all the photography. So then he's going to use it back end and social media
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I noticed that he was talking to this client about like Facebook ads and marketing and all this stuff. And I was sort of sitting there like snapping away and hearing the conversation in the background. And I was like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Like, he was talking to like some 50-year-old business owner of like a restaurant
All right.
about like pixels and all this like marketing stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't say anything. It wasn't my place.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this guy's got no idea.
Wait,
And
the
then,
50-year-old or the guy talking to the 50-year-old?
like the guy that owned the agency was talking. Sorry, the guy that owned the agency
right.
was talking to the
Yeah.
the 50-year-old like restaurant owner
right.
and stuff. And
Pretty much talking shit.
yeah, basically.
right.
But like the only reason why I felt like he was getting somewhere with his thing was he had that charisma and that confidence where he could literally just talk about anything, and people would be like, "Oh yeah," just because of his delivery.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have that tucked away somewhere that
Sure.
I've got to like get out, but I know that I have the actual knowledge and skills that
Yeah.
he doesn't have. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so where does this leave me? So I left that shoot that day, and the next day, it's funny that we're here. That's what I was saying when
Yeah.
Stonecutters is awesome, because me and Christian used to use this whilst like all the barbering stuff was
Right.
going on, as like our creative space and office kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've done like different things like the clothing, the drop shipping, all delved
Right.
into all different stuff online. And we were actually sitting literally outside where I parked today in the car park.
Yeah.
And I was
What
telling
happened?
Christian about this story, and I was like, man, this guy like on this shoot today, he had like no idea, and this guy's just buying everything he's saying. And I was like, we could do this. Like, we actually have the knowledge and we have the skills, and like the more that we do this, we're only going to develop our skills and knowledge further.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do it? And he was like, okay, sweet. So like we just kept talking and started planning it from there. Like the next day we started looking at like making our own website and how we're going to plan it, and literally happened like in that car park outside.
How long ago? This was. Wait, hang on.
This
No.
was probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Outside.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for it to catch legs?
I was just thinking about this the other day. Literally like maybe 2 months.
Right.
So from that, we
That's
sort
incredible.
of like sat down, okay, like where we're going to go. And, you know, as you do when you start any business, it's like, okay, website, some social profiles, planning, and then, yeah.
That is a crazy story, bro, because I can relate, because I'm sort of doing that role. You could see me as like the charismatic guy that you were talking about in the story,
Sure.
but I know my shit. That guy probably doesn't,
Yeah,
right?
no.
So I totally get it, because there are, much like any industry, I always like to use the example of my background in real estate, because there's a lot of cowboys and sharks out there, and you just hear people, they got the fucking energy, they can fucking say it in a way that can get anyone's attention, right? So I can totally understand that. And I think the difference between like us and people who are just talking shit, for lack of a better word, is obviously the knowledge, because I think you can capture someone in the story and then can't execute on what you've just sort of kind of promised.
Yeah.
And that's very, very fucking common, bro, from what I've experienced in my past as well. But it's good, because what you guys are doing, I always think of it as it's an industry that's still young and it's not going away anytime soon.
Definitely.
That's why I'm in it myself, and I can see why you're in it as well. And it's one of those things, believe it or not, bro, because I work in the industry like professionally. People still don't like the people that know digital. There's very few people, and I'll tell you this up front now, there's not a lot of people that know the industry. And in my particular case where I work, there's a lot of people that have to be that they're hired from another country, like, because there's no one here that can do it. So they have to hire more skilled people from
100%.
overseas. There's nothing wrong with that, because obviously there's obviously a need for it here, and obviously a need for it to be done well, because like anyone, and I'm not sure if you've been familiar with this or come in contact with a client now that has worked with someone in the past, people would hire someone and then it's like, hey, I'll get a website, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll Fiverr the job, charge 1.5 and then, you know, pay the guy 300 on Fiverr. And then that's you make your meat and potatoes off that, right? So that happens all the time. I hear a lot of, especially in, like on the Google side of things, AdWords, SEO, people offshore that to like India, Taiwan, and all these places, like as far as like link building, the aspect of SEO. And I'm just hearing these stories, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, there's shady shit out there. And the fucked up thing is, people, I think it's human nature, but people are like, okay, how much is digital marketing? Okay, cool. And then they stack your quote with someone cheaper, and it's like, well, what do you get for your money?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get that all the time. It's like, well, what the fuck? You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, like that's a pretty difficult thing, because it's like so easy to outsource it, especially with like platforms like Fiverr and stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those things, like, you're gonna have those clients that will compare like price points. And
it's
I'll
like,
just go there.
it boils down to price. It's like,
yeah,
do you know where you're getting? Like,
it's so difficult to try to communicate that kind of thing with clients. We try to go in an aspect of, like, we try to come in an angle of like, okay, we might be charging more, but like we're only charging this price because of the hours we put into it.
100%.
And there's like that, like I was saying, that story with the dude talking to the guy at the restaurant. Like, I don't know how he does his back end. Maybe he uses those, like,
maybe, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah,
like, he was charging next to nothing, and I was like, that was one of the things when we were starting out, which was interesting to try to see where we fit in, because with what he was charging, when we think about the work that goes into it,
it didn't add up.
For him, I don't know. Like, I not know how it would have worked.
Right.
But for us, knowing that we do everything ourselves, and if we do outsource everything, it's the people that we know that are going to get the work done, but then we're going to have to pay them decent rate as well. So for us, it was like, how are we going to match that price, knowing that we're literally working for maybe $3-4 an hour when it all comes down to it. So
there
it's
you
like,
go.
It's just one of those things you have to be really transparent and upfront with the client straight away.
100%.
But yeah, we've had our fair share of like falling out and
really
all that kind of stuff with clients and stuff. Yeah, been burnt and then all that kind of shit.
Like you've been burnt by the client, or
yeah,
right.
for sure.
Was it just not framing it the right way? Like, you know what I mean? Like, was it that transparency? Like, what would you say? Obviously, because I want you guys to improve. Like, did you get feedback?
Yeah. Well, it could have been a number of things, because like at the same time, well, I'm only 24, Christian's 23, so like we're definitely young,
still
like,
babies.
You know what I mean? So like, but
oh, is that the stigma? Like, because you're young.
I think
what
that's
do you
one
know?
of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things.
That's really interesting.
That's
because it's the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because some people think, oh, well, you're young, you should know.
Yeah.
Depends. That's what I mean. Like, but as much as you can try to like summarize it and say, oh, this is the stigma that's attached 100%.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I have a strong belief of like individuality, and like you could meet like a 60-year-old that might have that stigma, and another 75-year-old business person who like just be completely different.
Yeah.
So it just really depends. It could just depend on the day or the mood or the weather or
Man,
anything.
Yeah. Okay. It is funny that you bring that up, because when I was in real estate, that was that stigma.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I was so much younger at the time, but I felt like I knew a lot more than 50% of people. No matter, I don't care how much money you make, you don't know real estate like I do. That was like my mindset. And then when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, are you sure you know though?" And then I'm like, "What the like?" In my head, I'm like, "Yes, I know."
Yeah,
like, I'm around these people. Like, I'm the average of the people that I surround myself with, and they're making a lot of money. Like, you know, I know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I took it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get respect until maybe I'm in my late 20s. You know what I mean? Like, I have to really cover. Maybe I need a portfolio of like $1 million. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to get me that clout, right? And then I went into digital, and it was the complete opposite, bro. They're like, they're like, oh yeah, really? And I'm talking. I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, fuck, all right, yeah. And then the most common thing that ever happens is they've been burnt. They just have a hard time. Like, this is the people that I communicate with. And this might be the same case for you. A lot of people have been burnt, had a bad experience, and it's like, look, I understand where you're coming from. In my head, I'm like, don't project your experience onto me, because like I can show you the many case studies, all these success stories, and they can be like, yeah, I was shown the same thing. Look, I understand, right? But like, how much were you spending, right? Was that getting any ROI for you? No. Well, this is why you need to spend a bit more so you can get more out of it, right? Because everyone thinks they're like, okay, Jono, like $500 a month, is that enough? I'm like, no, like it's not enough. Like, you're going to pay me what, $100 management fee and then $400 for ads, but you're doing e-commerce fashion, you're not going to get the cut through that you need. Yeah. You're up against fucking Culture Kings who's got a unlimited budget.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like people need it's relative, bro.
That's, but like I touched on ROI there. That's honestly, maybe that's the second biggest like key factor when we come into like meetings and stuff. Like, just like, yeah, but we're going to spend this much. How much we're going to make from it? And the biggest thing I try to communicate with is, yes, I understand that the most important part of business, or maybe the second important, depends how you look at it, is making a return on the money. Like, what is a business if it's not earning money? But at the same time, that is only a byproduct of you changing people's lives through your product or service.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to invest money into marketing yourself just to show who you are as a brand, don't even like, yeah, it might sound naive as a 24-year-old saying this, but don't even freaking come to me talking about how much you're going to get a return on.
Yeah.
If you're willing, like you're literally not willing to like invest that money into showing who you are.
I love that you're saying that, bro, because I say this all the time with people that I talk to over the phone, whoever it might be. It's like 5, 6, 7 years ago, Facebook ad, buy now message, people will buy.
Yeah.
Now it's a funnel-based approach.
Yeah, of course.
Top of funnel, middle funnel.
Yeah.
You have to take them through a process. It's not a buy now message. It doesn't work anymore. No. Like those days are gone. You've missed the fucking like organic reach like you can never imagine.
Yeah.
Like now you have to take them through a process, and it's all like it's about branding obviously and nurturing that that funnel. And people don't fucking get it. Like they don't get it. And look, it might obviously boil down to education, and I end up like kind of converting people obviously because they don't know. I don't expect them to know any better.
Yeah.
It's like anyone, right? So you got to kind of explain to them the nuances of the actual channel itself. So like social is a different channel to AdWords, and AdWords is a different channel to SEO, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I sort of frame it. But again, like I think it's hard when I don't know if you've experienced it, but yeah, people are projecting those bad experiences onto you, and it might be you even going back to fucking personal training. Like you probably had that client that's like, fuck, it doesn't work, and it's like it's not that the channel or the actual thing itself doesn't work. It's just, it hasn't worked for you. Like whatever you've been with in the past, it just didn't work for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the channel's bad.
Exactly. Like it's proven that it works, and if anything, maybe a bit of a bold statement, but you don't work. That's what it comes down to. Like it's like there's way too many aspects of it to just go, after a month, like we've spent all this money, it's not working. It's like
you gave it a
start
month.
your business, and then after a month it wasn't working. Like I don't know. To me, like it's probably controversial, like
not at all
statement, but like marketing is definitely like, if not the biggest thing. Like, how are you gonna show who you are? Like if you look at all these brands, like you look fitness, like Nike, Puma, Adidas, whatever. Clothing, you look into Culture Kings and blah blah.
Yeah.
Like that took time.
Oh,
that
fuck
took
yeah.
money, and maybe they're earning money now. Maybe they're where they want to be now, but
it wasn't overnight.
A couple of years, 100%. Like they could have spent hundreds and thousands that just went nowhere initially to get to that point.
Yeah,
and I think like maybe with the way it's all like shown to be glorified now, like Facebook has and all this stuff. Like it's not like plug and play. It's definitely
no, it's not.
And the biggest thing with it, I think, is like if you can develop that trust with the client and they're willing to spend that money, then that's cool. But they always have to understand it's a process. It takes time.
But it's that's so true, man. Like I even before, like I would fuck around with like online e-commerce, like drop shipping before, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be trying to learn shit because I'm trying to figure things out myself. And then the way in which I actually worked and understood concepts a lot better was actually working in the industry. So I can read as much about real estate as I fucking possibly can, but I'm not going to know as much as if I took myself and actually put myself in an environment where they actually teach it and educate people on it and actually take you through the process of like building a portfolio, etc. And that's the same when I took myself out of my own kind of self-learning and went and started working in digital, right? So when I took that step, it was now I sort of understand something that I wouldn't have been able to if I were just to learn by myself. Like it was such a profound realization for me, because like I thought, and it was probably on me, maybe it's a guy thing, we're egotistical, I don't know what the fuck it is, we can do it ourselves maybe. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna be that guy on Facebook selling $1 million courses, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that fucking, I got a course out, whatever. And then like now I'm in a position where like I've been taught by people who've been doing it for years that have built strategies for $1 million companies. So I kind of, I'm getting there and I have the knowledge now. So it's like, if I talk about a channel, I kind of know, like I said, the nuances and stuff like that. So again, it's the same for you guys, because I've spoken to people that hit our agency up and it's like, oh, hey, like I've just started my own agency. Like they're new, and I obviously have that initial chat with them, right? So like what they're after is obviously like, how do I get more leads? Like how do I market myself better? These can be from like a design agency to like a social media agency, right? Like yourself, so like a videography, you know, sort of creative agency. And then after the conversation, like a particular chick was like, fuck, how come you don't start your own agency? And then I'm like, see, I could, but like it's pretty tough. Like it is tough. It's not easy because like I said, man, like there's a lot of people out there just trying to take people for a ride for 6 to 12 months, not get any results, and then people get burnt, and then people don't trust the fucking industry anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's good people, right?
Yeah.
It's probably 95% good people, but a lot of people don't know. You know what I mean? So, oh man, that was a very good chat actually. That was really, really good. But do you have any like? I'm thinking, man. Like, obviously you and Chris, like, I wanna obviously. Is he like? Are you both the creatives?
I'd say I'm
More of the
that
creative.
way, but he's got a good eye for it as
Sure.
well, and he can call me on like you can do better, do this kind of
Okay,
stuff. Like,
cool.
he has a good eye for it, but I guess he's more the social side and
Okay.
back-end stuff.
Right. Okay.
That's
like
good.
the delivery.
You
Okay.
guys
Cool.
complement each
That's
other.
a good team. That's bad. So, videography, obviously, photos. You do all the social media stuff as well, and you've been doing it for what, like a year and a half now, like ever since.
Like almost 2 years now, and prior to that, it was doing that for my own brand. So like,
Okay.
there's that experience there.
Okay,
as well.
cool.
But I'd say as a business, almost 2 years.
Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
are you? How's that going for you, by the way? Like, are you? Like, obviously, we can always improve, but like for yourself, like, is it still like, what's that thing that you're still trying to figure out? You think?
We like going into it, we didn't have so much of a business model. Like,
Sure.
it was like, okay, we have XYZ set up. The thing that we've always not so much struggled on, but that's been a challenge is like, okay, but how do we get the clients? You know,
Sure.
like, because they're not necessarily just like coming to us, definitely not falling off trees. So like, one of our main approaches was just like, okay, we're just going to cold pitch people, like, and maybe that's something else we need to, like, definitely something else we need to keep working on to figure out that client acquisition side
Sure.
of things. But that was, it was basically like very simple, just like, okay, Sydney. So we're looking up Sydney businesses. We're looking at their socials, looking at their website, then put them into categories. These guys are doing things good. Can we improve on it? Yes, I reckon we can. So we come in from that angle.
Sure.
Hey, we really like what you're doing, but we think we can help. Let's have a chat. People that, and then on the other side of the spectrum is like people that really aren't getting anywhere with it.
Okay.
Then
Like
approaching
these people
them-
need help.
Yeah,
need
these
help.
people need help. But the other side of that is like, if they're obviously not showing, like with their website and socials, that they are doing anything, they're not going to be educated to know that it's important.
Right.
These like we work with a few construction building companies, right?
Yep.
And all of that stuff, the amount of times I've had like phone calls and meetings with people, is just like, yeah, we're word of mouth. And they've been doing word of mouth for 30 years.
Okay.
And that's what their business model's based on. And they're
Word of
earning
mouth
money doing
referrals.
that.
Yep.
So then your young guy coming in trying to say, yeah, but you don't leave any stone unturned, don't be a one-legged stool.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like, oh, what the fuck do you know?
What the fuck do you know?
So
Oh
it's
man,
like-
I hear that all the time,
Yeah.
and it's like, bro, like when it's happy days. See, this is another analogy that I like to use is when it's all happy days and the market's going up in real estate, everyone's fucking happy, everyone's
of
making
course.
money, and then it goes down. It's like fucking real estate doesn't work, blah blah blah. And it's like,
Yeah.
bro, like you were just riding the fucking wave.
Yeah,
like you should have
exactly.
known that good times don't last forever, bro.
Different
Like
story when it goes the other way.
100%.
And,
Yeah.
a perfect example is this whole virus thing. Like,
Oh.
how many businesses have lost, and I'm not saying, just because you own a social media, you've
No, of course.
but huge difference
Yeah.
between, at the moment, you know how there's like the 10 people thing. The
Yeah.
other day I was like, I wanted to take my partner out for her birthday.
Nice.
I wanted to go have like a little breakfast, whatever.
Shout out partner, by the way. Yeah.
100%. And I was thinking, okay, so like, how do we work out which cafe's open? The first thing I did, not thinking
Yeah.
I'm a freaking social media
Of
dude,
course,
whatever, was go on Instagram and hashtag Sydney Cafe
Yeah.
and see who's posted saying we're open.
Oh,
Out
right.
of the whole of Sydney, like this was like last week, maybe like 5 or 10 posts. Like that's nowhere near good enough, guys. Like businesses out there, like no way. Like you can't.
Oh my-
How? Like how are you communicating these changes?
I,
You know what I mean?
I love this guy.
Yeah.
I would have never thought about that. Like I hit up a cafe one day and I'm like, "Are you open?" He's like, "Oh no, we're not." And I'm like, "The website says you're open, bro." And he's like, "Oh yeah, but I'm not." And then I'm like, so are you open today or when are you opening? He's like, I don't even know. And I'm like, thanks for nothing, bro. Like in my head, I'm like, what the
and
fuck?
fair enough. Like what we're going through is like
Unprecedented. Like, yeah.
huge change.
Yeah.
Whatever. I know everyone's adapting, trying to figure out what to do, but if you're taking what you do seriously, how can you not take that seriously enough to communicate that stuff? You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
crazy that you said that.
How much
Yeah.
money are you leaving on the table?
Oh,
by
yeah.
doing that? So,
Oh man, that's so profound. I never thought about it like that,
Yeah.
but that's a really good way to think about it because I would have never thought the hashtag, but that's what people do. That's how people
Yeah,
search.
for sure.
So, man, fuck, that's crazy, bro. That's good. I mean, you got a good head on, so on your shoulders, so fuck, you'll be able to figure shit. We'll probably take a lot of this stuff offline because I do have improvement pieces that we could probably make for your business in itself. So
Yes.
I guess in saying that, obviously you and Chris are a good tandem. You've known him for a long time. Like, I obviously want to know. I feel like I'm hijacking the conversation because it's just me and you now. Are you alright with that, babe? I feel kind of bad. Do you have anything to say, please?
No, it's all good.
Are you sure? Oh fuck, it's one of those ones. It's one of those days, bro. But yeah, man, I just wanted to obviously ask. I always like to know some of these things, but you know, one of the most quirky or nerdy things about you, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, like when you were at Chris that time, the phone call.
Yeah.
Just like stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like,
just
yeah.
off the cuff, randomness. I love that shit.
Yeah, like I guess that pretty much sums it up. Like I don't know what else we could say at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean, bro.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
we all got
Like,
fucked up sense of humor, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah. We always just do dumb stuff.
Yeah, right. Are you guys like close? You guys
Yeah,
always?
100%. Like
Oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
ever since like back end of high school and
Mad.
stuff. So yeah, for sure.
You guys went to the same school?
Yeah, so Chris was a year under me.
Okay.
And it was funny because
Right.
like we weren't so much like, not that we sort of had like similar friends and stuff, but we weren't close like
Right.
best mates or whatever. And it wasn't until I left year 12 and he was now in year 12, and then like that's when I started hanging out with him. So I'd like pick him up from school,
Oh,
do
that's
stuff
so
after.
cute.
Like,
Yeah, never had.
that's
cool.
how that's how
Yeah.
that relationship started. But yeah.
Okay.
But how you doing now that you know gyms aren't open? You probably used to going to the gym, right? Pre-COVID.
Yeah, like back end of last year, I sort of got over going to the gym.
Oh, okay,
Just
right.
like, just so many people and
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I just like having my own space.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to manage with like weights at home is just not the same.
Oh, okay. So you're trying to manage through with
Yeah,
weights at
definitely.
home.
Like, still trying to get like a few days in.
Yeah.
Do you have like a setup, like a squat rack in that, or is it just
No,
like dumbbells or
so
something?
At,
Or
at my house, there's like a bench and maybe like 20 kilos worth of weights. And
Okay.
at my partner's house, she's got like a bit more of a setup, but like it's enough to like get by.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But,
by
like,
yeah,
there's some of those sessions like the other day was like wanting to train legs and I was like, I can't do it.
20
properly.
kilos only.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, it's like it's been a challenge, but
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So in saying that, like what, like obviously, did
Like, what
you?
do you- Yeah, I was
sorry.
gonna say what other interests do you have? So outside of like work.
Good
stuff
question,
and-
babe. Thanks for
Um,
involving yourself now. Love you, babe.
I've been really getting into like old school movies lately. Like I love
Okay.
watching like.
Ooh, name dropping, bro. Because
Okay,
I'm
let's
a
do it.
fucking.
Let's see. Of course, I go blank suddenly. Whatever you're watching lately, like Lethal Weapon,
Oh yeah,
Die
yeah. Mel
Hard,
Gibson.
like that
Yeah.
kind of
Oh, Bruce
stuff.
Willis.
Like all the Denzel stuff.
Yeah.
What's it called, like Training Day. All
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah. I guess when you got time now, but yeah.
Yeah, like and even like I know you said like outside of work, but like
Yeah.
that's also it's like with film stuff. It's like I'm watching it now, going like, what the fuck are those angles, and like trying to like relax. Like, okay, this is like what I like.
I
doing,
lo-
but
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
like-
cool.
So is your mind always like running?
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like if you guys have the same thing.
I
but,
had like
I
such
think
an
she.
issue.
I know she does.
I think still now, but like not as bad as before.
Did you do anything to like fix it? Like, I
Uh,
struggle, man. Like, it's freaking difficult. Like, just want to switch off sometimes.
So it's gonna be it's gonna sound so cliche, but like during the COVID thing,
Yeah.
like I started like trying to because I was trying to like understand like the meaning of life basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So I'm
That's
like,
right, yeah.
what's the meaning of life? And then like I started to look at like, you know, the Bible and like Jesus and stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
And like before that, like I grew up Catholic. And then I went away from like any teachings of the Bible. I just like completely like disregarded. I was like, yeah, I think I believe like everything's the same. Like all religions are true and all that stuff. And then I started getting into like card readings and stuff like that.
No,
yeah.
Sick.
And like I started to believe in like higher power, meditation,
Yeah. Definitely.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And because my nature is like I'm always wanting to learn. So like I just wouldn't switch off.
Okay.
Like I couldn't switch off.
Sure.
I was trying to feel like something in my heart. Like I was trying to find something, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'd get like the readings done, because like it would give me like some sort of like purpose at that time and place, meaning. And then even like the meditation stuff or law of attraction, like all that stuff that's like in the new age, I started to really get into. Like he can like self-help books, everything, like the whole lot.
Yeah.
Like I just nonstop. But it was like that want for more. But you couldn't like put your finger on what, like you're trying to find something like the secret, but you can't find it. You just keep going, right?
Yeah.
And so going back to like going away from like the teachings of the Bible, I've never read the Bible up until like this year.
Very recently.
Yeah, sure.
So before that, I was like away from it. I just didn't want to read it because I think innately I knew what I was doing was wrong.
Okay.
So like the whole, what is it? Like doing the cards and stuff. I thought it was fine, but because I'd like look up, oh, it's fine to meditate. Like you go on Google and stuff and you justify like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like it says meditate, but it doesn't say it. When you read it, it says meditate on the word. It doesn't say meditate nothing.
Yeah, sure.
Or meditate, empty your mind out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It says meditate on the word, and what is the word? It's the Bible. That's what it meant.
Okay.
Holy shit. I didn't even think of it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There's a lot of like misconceptions within the Bible that you think this is what it says, but because you've never read it, you can't justify it. So yeah, I was just like completely away from it, and I kind of similar to you. It's not so much social anxiety, but like I went through depression and all that, and like I had that facade, like I'm good, like I don't know.
She's a fucking bad bitch.
Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah. Like I was like,
like, no, you're not.
yeah. But I had that facade, so people would be like, if I mentioned it, they'd be like, oh, really? Like, what? So I relate with that.
Sure.
But yeah, like just I think we all know, like in our heart, there is something other than just us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And then yeah, like once I understood what like the gospel actually meant. Because I thought like, oh, if you're a Christian, you're not a sinner. Like you don't have anything wrong with you. Like it's just completely like.
There's a lot of misconceptions,
Yeah.
bro. And she just had a very inquisitive nature.
Yeah.
So she was just after like, what is the meaning? What's my purpose? What's the truth?
Yeah.
And she was always trying to find it. She tried to find it in other channels. It would have been like the tarot cards. It could be in meditating and just like the law of attraction and all that shit. Like we like, I think her and I like alike. We just always were curious, and we wouldn't close a door on one particular ideal if we didn't agree with it. We'd obviously revisit it and it's like, okay, what is it really about this particular thing that, it is what it is, but like, why are people still gravitating towards it? But I think for us, it was one of those things where now we're finding a bit of, I think the word is solace or whatever it is. Like now we've found what we like to refer to, and it's like historically speaking, it's one of those like long-lasting sort of ideologies or like faiths. So I think for us now, it's a lot less of like trying to find other meanings through other channels. It's now more through like scripture and just going through what the Christians call the truth, right? So we kind of went through to that now, and I think for ourselves we're a bit more. We're just not trying to fuck around, trying to figure out what else it is, bro. It's literally the scripture. Like it helps.
It's literally like right in front of you, but like you just literally don't want to acknowledge it because like we know like what we do is wrong. Like we don't want to acknowledge that like we're a sinner. And like I know that's a controversial word, but like when you look at new age thought or new age thinking, like if you say like sin or if you say like hell, it's like, oh, but that's negative. Like, don't say that. Like, it's never ever
There's just a lot of misconceptions
in a sense of scripture. Yeah. And like the Bible was made over 1,500 years. Like, you can't say that like man just made that out of like it's just a story that was like a fairy tale that like over time
literally
made itself.
You go talk to us pre-COVID and we weren't about this shit.
No.
But we literally somehow just we stumbled across it. We're opening to listening to what people have to say about it, and I think now for us, we're like again, I think we're more at peace now. Like we're not trying to find truth in. I literally don't do
cards anymore, and it's like that. It was just this big shift. Like I just found peace. Yeah. I was like, far out. Like I've been looking for this like this whole time.
But that's cool though,
I
because
couldn't find it.
that's where you started, but then you've gone through all these other avenues, and like fair enough, everyone's different, but that's where you've come back to, and like that's just like
we were like we were non-believers to the max, bro. Like I literally switched off.
If someone said they're Christian, I'd just be like, but
I'm
no,
like,
like you don't like. But it's
Christian?
not true. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Rodriguez? But yeah, fucking yeah. It's one of those things, bro. And I think for us, it was just one of those things that we gravitated towards like now. And it's fucking given her a lot of peace now, but she's less of a headache now. Yeah, nah.
No, but that's the thing. That's cool. Like if that's what you believe and feel comfortable with, like 100%. Like doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like it could be like your parents are like, nah, but we don't agree. It's like, well, you're not living in my head. So
yeah, 100%, bro.
That's what works, and 100%, like whatever it is.
I take it offline and like just to kind of explain to you what, like how I came to that conclusion.
It was it was one of those
definitely
things.
not, maybe not on here because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
All good.
But yeah, definitely something to talk about offline. But yeah, like we're coming close to an hour, I think.
Yeah, we're almost there. We can like I don't know.
Maybe a few more minutes.
Yeah, a few more minutes. But bro, like, so you've obviously listened to some of our content now.
Yep.
Like, I want you to be as brutally honest as you can be, bro, because we're always trying to improve.
Sure.
Like, do you have any?
Feedback.
I hate for this to be about us, but obviously want to get your thoughts as well.
No, like honestly, like I think, I don't know, like I don't think there's anything personally that I reckon you guys should change, or like I don't know. Right. I just reckon that
It's fresh.
You can be upfront. It's fine.
No, I just think from like podcast point of view, or like whatever people call it and stuff. Like I reckon the way you're doing it, like just letting it, like having your structure there, but letting it go organically is so much better. So like, no, I don't know. Like I reckon what you're doing is sweet, and like just keep true to what you guys want to do with it. Like,
so glad to hear that, bro.
No, 100%.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on board, bro. It was good to have you.
It's my pleasure.
Good to have you.
It was really good to learn about you, and obviously sharing and meet you, and for the first time, but obviously like sharing, like a bit about your story, like your path is obviously good. I'd love to have you on again. I'm sure like we'd be happy to have you.
100%.
And thanks for being the first one on this kind of
this
setup.
Different
It's pretty
setup,
cool.
Yeah, different setup.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, we'll probably tee it up in a very, very soon, hopefully, and we'll probably catch up in that time. But I guess for now we'll take it offline and chat further. But yeah, thanks again for coming online.
Thank you.
I hope you guys learnt from that again. Did you want to plug in your socials, bro, while you're here?
Yeah.
So digital marketing, you can check us out at 3-Star Media Group.
3-Star Media.
3-Star Media Group.
Media
Number
Group.
3.
Yeah, with
Style
a 3.
Media Group.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, check it out, guys. We'll leave it in the description and all that. Thanks for coming again, bro. Until next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. See ya. Bye.